Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating analysis by looking at two radically different approaches to trauma recovery that incredibly lead to the exact same destination. We'll be comparing two completely distinct sessions from the Recovery of Free Agents, or ROFA program. One is driven entirely by the heart, and the other, well, it's totally engineered by the mind. Here is a quick look at our roadmap for today. 1. Two paths to recovery. 2. The Pastoral Testimony Register. 3. The Structured Curriculum Register. 4. Bypassing the Inner Critic. 5. The Anatomy of Amends. And finally, 6. Same destination, different maps. Section 1. Two paths to recovery. Grace versus gravity. Let's get into it. So, on one side, we have the 9 a.m. session, which uses lived experience to validate the participants. It runs heavily on free-flowing association and grace. On the other side, though, the 10 a.m. session relies on mechanical metaphors, really rigid architecture, and logical scaffolding. Let's see exactly how this plays out in the room. Section 2. The Pastoral Testimony Register. Empathy as a tool. Look at these handwritten notes from Valerie in the 9 a.m. session. You can see how the facilitator uses deeply personal stories to build immediate trust. Sharing raw, lived experiences, like the pain of having an estranged 18-year-old son or reading a 10-page letter from a dying mother, isn't just venting. It is a highly calculated methodology for connection. It essentially tells the room, hey, I've been in the dark, just like you. Now, this is absolutely crucial. The facilitator makes the point that you can have a nice house, you can have a full bank account, but still be completely paralyzed by anxiety. In fact, there's this fascinating detail pointed out here. The root word for worry in Old German literally means to strangle. True recovery requires looking beneath that social mask we all wear, because simply appearing successful to society definitely doesn't mean you're actually healing on the inside. God blessed my mess. I love this phrase. It explicitly rejects that old idea that if you dug your own grave, you have to lie in it. Think about it. If a 12-year-old child is called a monster, they're going to enact that label. This session dismantles that label entirely by supplying the hidden context, showing that irrational behavior is very often just a symptom of someone who has been profoundly hurt. Section 3. The Structured Curriculum Register. Intimacy with Gravity. Okay, side by side, the shift here is literally staggering. We move from this emotional, free-flowing narrative at 9 a.m. straight into a highly structured, bulleted curriculum at 10 a.m. This session treats recovery like mathematics. It's an architectural build that requires strict boundaries and constant daily maintenance. The facilitator, Chris, breaks recovery down into these 4 logical categories of happiness. He treats resilience as a mechanical structure that you have to build step by step. You start with the physical baseline, basic stuff like nutrition and sleep, and you use that to cultivate mental wellness. From there, you master stress, which eventually yields the ultimate goal, resilience to hardships. He uses this brilliant metaphor about choosing crutches over a wheelchair for a broken leg. The wheelchair, sure, it's the easier path, but it makes your whole body weak because you simply stop trying. The crutches, on the other hand, require friction, effort, and sweat, but they build the exact strength needed for real recovery. He calls this embracing the friction. It's like a forest fire. It might burn down the trees, but it clears the way for a much stronger forest to grow in its place. Listen to this absolute game changer of a rule. It distinguishes professional, structured disclosure from free therapy. Chris warns the room that if you feel this wave of emotional relief after sharing your trauma, you probably just handed your emotional baggage to the group. In the structured curriculum, you share your lived experience strictly to teach a lesson to others, not to just vent your own pain. Section 4. Bypassing the Inner Critic, the Neurobiology of Safety. So what exactly is the inner critic? Based on the clinical research of psychologists Marsha Linehan and David Brilliman, we learn that early childhood abuse and invalidation create a hypervigilant nervous system. A traumatized child learns that to survive unpredictable caregivers, they have to constantly judge and suppress their own needs. Therefore, traditional moralizing, just telling them to behave better, is completely ineffective because their nervous system is totally locked in survival mode. Here's where it gets fascinating. Both of these ROFA sessions are actually hacking that exact nervous system dynamic, just in completely different ways. The 9 a.m. session uses deep emotional validation to bypass the inner critic, reassuring the individual that no, they aren't a monster. The 10 a.m. session, though, it uses physical exertion, literally forcing participants to hold a physical plank exercise for over 2 minutes. Because honestly, nothing grounds you in reality quite like the immediate agony of a plank, right? It forces a regulated somatic baseline through an intimacy with gravity. The fundamental biological rule they are both leveraging here is simple. You cannot reason with a dysregulated body. Safety absolutely must be established first. Whether it's through the 9 a.m. session's radical empathy or the 10 a.m.'s intense physical grounding, establishing safety is what allows a traumatized individual to finally drop their armor and move toward what clinicians call earned security. Section 5. The Anatomy of Amends. Releasing the baggage. In this structured framework, we hit a really profound realization. An amend is not a transaction to buy forgiveness from someone else. It's a unilateral tool strictly for your own self-forgiveness. It's about releasing your own baggage so you just don't have to carry it anymore. Watch how this logic builds out into a 3 apologies framework. Apology type 1 blames the boundary itself. Apology type 2 blames the victim's sensitivity. But the true amend? It takes total, unconditional ownership of the behavior without casting a single drop of blame on the other person. It's pure, structured logic. But then, look at how the 9 a.m. session arrives at this exact same lesson emotionally. The facilitator shares a story about how his mother, dying of cancer, wrote him a 10-page letter taking total ownership of her past addiction and abandonment. She asked for nothing in return. She didn't even know he had already forgiven her 20 years earlier. It is the exact same concept. Total ownership and self-forgiveness, but delivered through the power of testimony instead of a bolded list. Section 6. Same destination, different maps, the convergence. What is so beautiful about this whole analysis is seeing how intimacy with gravity from the 10 a.m. session and God bless my mess from the 9 a.m. session are just 2 completely different maps leading to the exact same core tenets. Whether you appeal to the heart or to the mind, true recovery requires owning your behavior, challenging your inner critic, leaning into the friction of life, and recognizing that healing is a relentless, daily maintenance project. I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought to ponder on your own journey. We spend so much of our energy polishing our social masks, chasing acceptance, status, and stability. But if all of that were stripped away right now, what would actually be left? Because ultimately, as these 2 incredible sessions teach us, true recovery isn't about the perfect image you project to the world. It's about the resilience, the grace, and the authentic legacy you cultivate within yourself.